Alright, this is going to be a slightly different video. I'm going to be going over the version 1.6 update and kind of bringing it down because, contrary to what I thought, they actually released a lot of information here, and I was kind of expecting it to be a slower patch because 2.0 comes out afterwards. But yeah, they went in and surprised me, so that kind of motivated me to make this video. Anyways, we'll start out with Dr. Ratio. We get a free copy of him once his banner drops, and we'll receive that in the mail. This is a reward, I guess, for the mobile game awards and all that. But yeah, it's just really surprising to get not only a free 5-star character, but the most recent limited banner 5-star character. Yeah, it caught me completely off guard. And he is of the imaginary and hunt classes, which is great because unless you have Embitterer Lune, you're not going to have an imaginary DPS, and since Embitterer Lune was a limited banner, the chances of you having him decrease with every update that comes out. I think that him being in the hunt class is also really great because hunt has a lot of good light cones, like say swordplay, whereas I feel like the other DPS classes, destruction and erudition, their light cones are more situational / character based. And then the more universal ones are just a little lackluster, like the Moles Welcome You or the Breakfast one. Like, they're all right, but they're mostly universal and they're just not as strong as, say, most of Hunt's light cones. When it comes to the characters, we're getting Ruan Mei and Xueyi in the first banner, and we're getting Dr. Ratio in the second. I think it's really smart that they moved Xueyi to the first banner, because people will probably skip Dr. Ratio since we're getting him for free. So now you can actually get both the new characters on the same banner and still get your free Dr. Ratio and possibly get all the new characters this patch by only pulling on one banner. For the characters themselves, Ruan Mei is a Harmony character following the Ice path. She's an Ice character following the Harmony path. She seems to be focusing mostly on break effect and weakness break efficiency, since with her skill she increases all allies' weakness break efficiency, and then with her ultimate she will activate a field that will reduce all enemies' elemental resistances, and also when enemies are weakness broken while this field is up, they'll be inflicted with a mark, and once they recover from weakness break, that mark will activate, delaying their action and inflicting ice damage to them. We didn't get any information on her talent, so we'll just have to see. But yeah, she looks like a pretty good character, and she's not really overlapping with any of the current Harmony characters, which is something I was a little worried about as the first limited Harmony character. But luckily, she is pretty compatible with them all. For Dr. Ratio, he's a imaginary hunt character that seems to be focusing on follow-up attacks again. I think it's interesting that they're making Hunt a follow-up focused path now. It wasn't really something that was prevalent on launch, especially with Zayla as the first Hunt character, but Topaz kind of introduced Hunt to the follow-ups, and it just kind of feels like they're stealing it from Erudition, since Erudition seems to be not getting as many follow-up focused characters anymore. Dr. Ratio, his skill doesn't do anything. Well, they didn't reveal that it did anything, but when combined with his talent, he has a chance to inflict a follow-up attack depending on how many debuffs the enemies are inflicted with, and his ultimate will inflict enemies with a mark, where if allies attack that enemy, he will launch a follow-up attack. For our last unit, Xueyi, I do like her character design, and she has really good animations. So I'm a little sad that she's a 4-star because honestly I like her animations a lot more than a lot of the 5 stars. But yeah, her skill is pretty basic, just a blast type attack. Her ultimate's where things get interesting because her ultimate will deal toughness bar damage regardless of what weaknesses the enemies have. So she has the ability to weakness break the entire field since it is a full-on AoE. And if that does inflict the quantum break effect, that's really great since quantum is one of the stronger break effects. And if we get a universal quantum breaker, I imagine she could even fill in as a sub DPS for a lot of teams, even though running 2 DPSs isn't always super efficient. Her talent is also interesting because whenever you deal toughness bar damage, she gets a stack, and at 8 stacks, she will launch a follow-up attack. Overall, I think this looks like a really interesting character, and I definitely can't wait to try her out. The Lightcones, we just got the art for them, but no Lightcone abilities, so we'll just have to stay tuned for that. We're getting another new chapter in the story. Not expecting a whole lot since it is right before the version 2.0 update, which I imagine is going to be a lot more story focused. But we are getting a new Echo of War boss, so maybe it'll be about the length of like Fantilia's, for example. And it also will delve into the Herta space station and the Genie Society to some extent. So yeah, I think it'll be an interesting story. We'll just have to see how it plays out. For the events, our first event is, well, I don't know the order actually. The first event viewed here is the Critter Picker, or the Critter Pick, which looks like you just fuse these critters to form new critters, and also get to play as the dog. I don't really know how those things will correlate. I think this looks like an interesting mode. I imagine it could potentially be a fan favorite, but if the gameplay's boring and it's not super fun, then it could also just be a flop. These events are always hit or miss, like the camera event I wasn't much of a fan for, but there's definitely been some good non-combat events out there, so we'll just have to see how it does. Our combat event is the virtual Scentventure. This looks like just a boss battles, and you can plug in your own buffs, up to 2 buffs it looks like. And it seems to have 2 modes, normal and despair mode. Despair mode obviously being harder. We'll have to see the reward distribution and see just how gated the rewards are by the despair mode. But it looks like the enemies have conditions, and if you fill those conditions, you can deal bonus damage or get bonus effects. But if those conditions are unfulfilled, it looks like the enemies get bonus effects. So yeah, we'll just have to see how the gameplay is. Once again, we're getting 10 limited pulls. I think that's just a staple of patch updates now. I imagine if they removed this, there'd just be a riot. So I don't see the Gift of Odyssey going anywhere. We're also getting Planar Fissure and Realm of the Strange, which are the double drop events for the Simulated Universe, and the Cavern of Corrosion, which are your relic drops. These are great events because relic XP is definitely one of the harder things to get, because you just have to spend so much Trailblaze energy just to get a little bit, and you have to get so many relics for each character, so it's one of those the grindier parts of the game. And also trying to optimize substats requires a lot of relic copies. The gameplay, these are some of the bigger things of this patch. We're getting a new Simulated Universe mode called Golden Gears. This looks like it's based off the Swarm mode, and I think it's going to be permanent since we are getting a new path called the Path of Erudition. But I could be wrong. We'll just have to see how it is. But I don't imagine they'd want to time gate their paths. But maybe they just don't want a whole bunch of permanent things filling up their travel log. The things that look to be new here is that you can actually edit your dice. Whereas in the Swarm, it was just kind of the preset based on the path you chose. So I think that's going to be interesting. I didn't really care for the dice too much during the Swarm event, so I'll have to see what the buffs pertain and everything to see if I'll actually use them more often, because I just felt like there was one good dice effect, and once you use your reroll, it's just waiting till you get that good effect or just completely ignoring the dice entirely. We're also getting another permanent Pure Fiction mode. A new permanent game mode called Pure Fiction. It seems to we're going to get links for free based on probably clearing a certain number of stages, similar to how we got Yukong. And yeah, it just looks like it's going to be potentially like the Planar Infinity event, if anyone remembers that, where you get points based on killing enemies. We do have a cycle limit, but there is a little wave icon at the top right there. Not sure if that means that there's going to be multiple waves per stage, or if that's just an upper cap until you clear the stage. We'll have to see how that plays out, but I think it'll be interesting. It looks like it's going to benefit AoE characters like Argenti, Herta, and maybe even Xueyi, just because of her AoE toughness ignoring ultimate. So I am excited to play around with that more, and I do hope that it brings light to characters like Herta, who are more ignored in like Memory of Chaos because she's just more situational. I also believe they mentioned that we're getting a new shop, which will have more premium things that you get a currency for from, I think, this game mode, possibly Memory of Chaos, or it could just be the Pure Fiction. We'll have to see when we get more information on that. But I do know that in version 2.0, the Memory of Chaos shop is updating to include more light cones, but this does seem to be a separate shop from that, so we'll have to see how things play out. Oh, also before I forget, the duration of Memory of Chaos is extended to 6 weeks, and Pure Fiction is going to be 6 weeks, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be 6 weeks and then 6 weeks. It'll start off Memory of Chaos 2 weeks, Pure Fiction launches 2 weeks later, and then 2 weeks later it's Memory of Chaos, so they just alternate every 2 weeks. But you will have one Memory of Chaos active when the second one releases 4 weeks later, if that makes sense. We're also getting a new Memory of Chaos, not Memory of Chaos, we're getting a new Echo of War boss, which is another swarm boss, but he seems to be unique where when you attack him, he will summon minions, and once you weakness break him while he's in that minion summoning state, he will explode, dealing toughness bar damage and just damage to all enemies on the field. I think this will be an interesting boss, but since it seems he's going to be an Echo of War boss, I don't think we'll see him that often, since we haven't seen Fentilia in like any content outside of Echo of War since she released. So we'll just have to see if he ever shows up. We're also getting some new environmental visuals. You can check these out if you wanted to. But yeah. Is Seclusion? Yeah, Seclusion Zone is the only video. Interesting. Anyways, like I said, we're getting a new Echo of War. I am curious if we're actually getting a new boss in the new simulated universe, though, because it's not in the Formidable Foe section. So it could be something like Cirrus from the Foxy and Tail event, where it just kind of buffs enemies. We'll have to see. But yeah, we're getting a new Echo of War. We're getting a new Forgotten Hall auto clear function, where you can clear stages 1 through 6 just by beating stage 7. For example, that's just the highest, but if you have to clear those stages in the Memory of Chaos before, so if you only cleared up to stage 5, then you can only auto clear up to stage 5, for example. And you have to have 3 stars on it as well. We're getting Forgotten Hall stages 11 and 12, so that's a little bit of an expansion to Memory of Chaos. From the stream, it looked like they are still 20 cycles remaining, so we'll have to see just how the difficulty is and just how stally the enemies want to be. And it also looks like we get a little bit of art in the back of the Memory of Chaos now instead of just like the black hole there. They also reduced the daily training difficulty, which I definitely appreciate. There are times where I'm 200 short and don't want to do the daily mission, but also don't want to do like a Forgotten Hall stage, for example, so I just quit the day with like 30 Stellar Jades lost. So this is definitely helpful to lazy people like me. We're getting temporary material stages unlocked, which I think is just something that should just be permanent, because when players start the game, they're getting the latest limited banner units. So if they pull, say, someone from Penacony, they're going to have to clear like 3 worlds before they can unlock the materials to actually farm for those characters. So yeah, I just think that they should kind of include material stages as like a permanent feature, or at least the materials needed for the latest banner units, so players aren't just gated from using the units that they spent all their Stellar Jades on. And if it was ever an issue for you, they did increase the team quantity. I haven't run into that issue yet, but I don't really use the feature that much, if I'm being honest. I just change one team all the time, because I'm lazy. Anyways, that is pretty much all that came in version 1.6 stream. They did reveal some stuff for version 2.0. I won't really go over that right now. It was mostly just teasing some characters and all that. And we also got that like radio thing on the Oil Lab site that did some 2.0 sneak peek features that we get, like 5 stars could now be dismantled into relic XP or the relic crafting material and stuff like that. And then you're also going to get relics being +3, +6, +9 example instead of just mainly inputting them until you get to those mounts. But yeah, that's version 2.0 content, so I don't want to delve too deep into that. If the version 2.0 update is as content packed as this one, maybe I'll do a video like this again. But that is all for now. Thanks for watching.